What is up, everyone? All right, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins. Let's just get right into it and just immediately start crushing. It's got 0 eyeballs on it right now, but I know that's not going to last. So I'm just wearing this because I actually have had I literally had the worst birthday maybe of my life, but probably number 2. And weirdly, it just firmed up my resolve, and I have decided that I'm going to kick it up a notch on behalf of the Most High and just bring tip of the hat to my homie Nick, bring it up to another level. And I mean that deeply, and I mean that literally. And I just had to open with the Dr. Disrespect shades, and I'm hemorrhaging viewers worse than a CNN post-Trump newsroom, and I don't really care because sometimes you just have to go with something new, catch some attention. And actually, it's a funny thing, even though I had such a messed up birthday, which it was really at another level, completely insane. I can't go into any details, but there was a less than 0% risk of getting clapped by an intelligence agency when I was sorry, Mr. Parisian. I literally actually almost got clapped by some baddies, and I can't really go into it because it goes into some really, really deep stuff, and talking about it is not going to make it better. The White Lotus of disrespect. Yeah. Well, sometimes you gotta look death in the face, and much like with my experience when Moloch came to me when I was in the ICU on the winter solstice of 2021, you got to just kind of look death right in the eye once in a while and be like, hey, if it's my time, it's my time. And I'm not going to back down. There's a funny thing about me. The worse things get, the harder my resolve gets. It's like a non-Newtonian fluid. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Smith. Thank you, as always, my brother man. And then Alex, brother, it's great to see you. Thanks for as always, your numerology wisdom. Great to see you. Mr. Parahesian, dude, I was ending out, nearly did the old heart attack 2-step. Sorry about that, brother, but sometimes you got to just bring the thunder right out of the gate. Yeah, and I don't know who 187 is, but good to see you. Hey, Sheila's there. Nice to see you, Sheila. If anyone wants a shout out, go ahead and do it. You know what? I pulled the Tower card on New Year's Eve, and I was like, no. And now I totally know what the Tower card was about. It's in my personal life, and it sucks. It's the weirdest thing. I have had some absolutely amazing things happen in my life. I was with 2 extraordinary gentlemen when I was down on this trip. So I will tell you guys, I went down to, and I'll get into some more details, but I want to give these 2 guys in particular a shout out. I was down in Mexico with somehow, some way, this mofo has become my best friend. It's never happened in my life to where someone has weaseled their way into my heart so freaking fast. And he used to say to me, well, I'm 70 or 80 hours ahead on our friendship. And I was like, I don't know you. And I'm talking about my boy, Nick. We were down in Mexico together. He's joining the Knights Templar with me, the Templar Collegia. I have completely reaffirmed my desire to be a part of that order. Grandmaster Timothy Hogan is an absolute G, the original spiritual gangster. He's totally legit. I will tell you guys, there are forces for good in this world at an absolutely astounding level. And you got to keep in mind that for the past 6,000 years, we've been in the Kali Yuga. And if you didn't stay in the shadows as a Most High related spiritual order, you'd get clapped. And so I have reaffirmed my love of Timothy Hogan. That man is he's a scholar and a gentleman in every sense of the word. And he is just absolutely amazing. And I am stoked to be a part of that order. And my boy Nick, got to turn off the phone here. My boy Nick has joined the order with me. And we had some absolutely insane stuff happen to us after we stopped spending time. After we got done with the Templar part of the journey, where we saw these Atlantean sacred sites down there in the Maya heartlands, he and I spent some time in Cancun, and it was, I really can't go into details, especially not online, but it was crazy. It was just absolutely crazy. Let's just say, I think I've been over the target a little bit too much, y'all, because like some scary shit went down, but we managed to navigate through it. The angels were like, you were never in any actual danger, because we would have interceded, but we wanted to see how you'd handle the pressure, because just like everyone watching this, like, we are all meant to do our part to bring forward humanity into the next yuga, and we have all got to collectively step up our games. And there's stuff I'm going to talk about in this podcast that's critically important in that endeavor. But yeah, while I was down there in Mexico, things got a little crazy. And then I had stuff in my personal life just absolutely go full-blown nuclear, just madness itself. And the next day I had like this huge business meeting, which crushed it. And then I was on Sam Tripoli's podcast in the studio, and that's going to come out in the 9th. And in Nick's words, absolutely murked it. It was literally, it's the best thing I've ever done ever. Like, it was insane. Like, me and Sam were just flowing. It was popping. It was hopping. Like, I just got out of my own way, and I just was in the flow, and it was chef's kiss. Like, watch for it on the 9th on the Tinfoil Hat podcast. It was absolutely amazing. I'm humbled and honored to be able to have that kind of stuff flow through me. A lot of it's, years, decades even of hard work and research, but then a lot of it is just the grace of the Most High. When you start doing things to integrate your shadow, when you start taking accountability, which I'm going to go into that a lot here, when you start working on yourself relentlessly, right? And I'm not talking about, working out. That's really important, taking care of your health, of course, but I'm talking about making sure that you look at your blind spots and you never stop and you're utterly relentless. If you can do that, then you can unlock all your gifts. And everybody watching this right now, you were put on this earth to do something special. I really believe that. And it's just a matter of figuring out, what is that? Like, what is that? And the best way to do that is you got to heal your trauma first and foremost. And then you got to work on accountability and shadow work. And if you do those 3 things, you can just open up and you'll be able to do tremendous things. And probably everyone watching this, unless it's someone who's a quick dip in and out, you're meant to do fantastic things. It's just a matter of stepping into your power. And we got to do it. Like, the time is long since passed for us to step into our power. And that means that you got to own it. The 2 gentlemen I was hanging out with are incredible. It's Nick and then Josh Amaro, who's been on the show. And Nick is my buddy who is also a client. And he just fully embodies the king archetype, the divine masculine king archetype. And my buddy Josh Amaro, who I've had on the show before, badass extraordinaire. He could even be watching right now. He said he might watch. If so, throw up a comment in the chat and I will, I'll give you yet another shout out. But Josh absolutely embodies the warrior archetype, and I embody the magician archetype, and I guess to some degree like the priest archetype. And I'm working on developing that king archetype and that warrior archetype within me. And my buddy Nick calls it daddy vibes. He's so funny. That guy has like unlimited confidence combined with, he gives precisely mathematical precision, 0 fucks. I mean, absolute 0 fucks. He does not care. Literally, we're in Mexico and he likes to smoke cigars, and he was smoking a cigar literally under a no smoking sign with a warning of a penalty fine. And he did like 15 minutes like an absolute G. And my inner Catholic schoolboy was like, oh my God, we can't break the rules. And he was like, no, bro, daddy vibes. And it's just what he calls daddy vibes is just, he has that king energy of, I am the law. And he does it in the most amazing way. And he's such a loving, like good human being. It's amazing. And Josh is the same way. Josh is like the biggest badass like that I've ever met. Like Navy SEALs, no joke, battle-hardened Navy SEALs look up to this man because he's an absolute gangster and he's so gentle and loving, but it's from a place of strength, right? And so I guess I'll just segue into, I do want to just talk about the importance as an embodied male of the divine masculine archetypes. And they're the warrior, which is self-explanatory, the king, which I just was talking about that, the magician, and the priest, right? And those four archetypes exist within every male, but there's dark versions of it, right? There's like the Babylonian dark sorcerer, right? There's the despot, the tyrant, right? There's the evil priest, right? The priest who harms children, for example, right? And there's the evil magician, the tyrant, the evil priest, and the evil warrior, right? Like bloodthirsty guys that are going out there massacring people, right? Like mercenary groups, things like that. So there's the evil version, but there's also the divine masculine. Of course, I'm talking about the divine masculine version. So the white magician who uses magic to uplift the consciousness of the planet. The spiritual master who also like isn't trying to change reality, but is trying to exude peace and love from their heart, from a deeply developed spiritual place. There's the king who brings about justice and love by like good decrees and by being strong and holding up leadership for others, and then therefore protects others in their leadership. And then there's the warrior who's the guardian and defender of good, the paladin in Dungeons and Dragons, right? The warrior for the Most High, right? That would be the powers, or Archangel Michael or Archangel Samuel. That's that divine warrior archetype. And so as a male, it's so important to, at a minimum, embody one of those. But really, if you really are maxing yourself out, you'll be able to move fluidly between the four as the situation demands. And I'm pretty developed on the priest level of being like spiritual and bringing about helping people to develop spiritually, right? It's one of the main things I do. The magician I definitely have on lock, right? Astrology would probably fall under kind of both of those to some degree, but like I'm a literal magician, I literally spoke something into existence. I had been like getting really hyped. It's so funny. That Tyga song, When I Switch Lanes, and there's a line in it where it goes, snow on my wrist, called a Rolly Big Bear. When bleepers see it in the light, go, woo, Ric Flair. And my buddy Nick gave me this incredible watch, which has a Movado. It's, quite nice timepiece. I'll just put it like that. He gave it to me and it really touched me because my father had once long ago given me a watch and I didn't understand love languages at that point in time. And my father's love language was gift giving. And I am not, this gift really, really touched me. Actually, this gift too, if my boy BT is watching this, he paid, he helped pay for half of this, which is the only reason I got it. And this, this Vedic gemstone has really changed my life in the most positive way possible. I didn't used to really respect gifts because it's just not my love language. My love language is touch, words of affirmation, and spending quality time, acts of service, and gifts, probably in that order. But I'm really starting to understand how when someone gives you any of those things, whether it's touch or spending time with you or giving you a gift or doing acts of service or words of affirmation, take it with grace, right? Because when someone's giving that to you, even if it's not what you like, really, really let it in, and maybe you'll find that that love language speaks to you on a deep level. And so my father once long ago on Christmas, and I'm not proud of this, he gave me actually a very nice watch. And it's actually kind of a big deal for a man to give another man a watch. And I really didn't get that on any level. And I had just seen this thing where I saw this guy who was like an absolute ogre, like homeboy weighed, I don't know, like 240. And someone put a watch on him, and this little 108-pound woman was able to easily move his arm down against his will. And when he had the watch off, he could lift her up off her feet. Because, I mean, this guy was a tank, right? But he put that watch on and she could put his arm down. And so I had seen that, and I was in my 20s. So, of course, I knew everything. And I was like, no, thanks, Dad. That'll make my arm weak or some bullshit. I'm rejecting your gift. And he was really crushed. And he made a big point of giving it to my younger brother in front of me as kind of a, because I had done that to him, right? I had rebuffed his gift. And I didn't understand back then that that was my father's way. You know, I wanted him to give me a hug, right? I wanted him to say nice things. That just wasn't his love language, right? His love language was gift giving. And I didn't understand that about my father until he was near death and dying of cancer. And then it really clicked. So when Nick gave me this, first of all, call this Rolly Big Bear. It's not a Rolex. It's a Movado. And actually, I kind of like that better in a way because it's just, you know, it's a different, like, very high quality timepiece. And it is it's not cheap. So, I mean, it was an incredibly generous gift. And Nick, I know you'll watch this at some point. You have no idea how much that touched me. It actually touched me so deeply. Like every time I kind of tune into it, like I actually want to cry. Like I'm so touched by it because it also brings up those memories of that. And it's been healing because I fucked up. Like I didn't take that grace that my father was giving me. I just didn't, I didn't understand what was happening. I was young. And most importantly, I didn't realize my father was really trying to connect with me in his way, the language that he spoke. And so I encourage you with your partners, with your family, figure out what their love languages are, speak to them in their love languages. And some people have a love language that is receptive, that's different from the love language they give, right? And people tend to respond best to whatever it is they like the best. Like for my son really likes gifts. And I've had to learn to give him gifts, and he loves that. He really, really loves that. And usually I'm not so affected by a gift like I was by this, the giving of this watch. And so find out what your family members, what their love language are, what your loved ones, your friends, and speak to them in their language, right? Speak to them in their language. And when they speak to you in their language, and maybe it's not your favorite, don't do what I did. Receive it with grace. And it can be really transformative and healing for both of you. And so, Nick, I spent the whole trip with Nick, and like, he's my best friend now. I don't know how it happened. It just did. I mean, he's just a remarkable human being. He's so freaking cool. We vibe on so many levels. He has a super high IQ, super high EQ. He has an incredibly, incredibly good heart. He's using his incredible position of power and influence to do really good works in the world. You know, I've watched him just really blossom spiritually. And when me and Josh and Nick were hanging out, it was just like, whoa. Like it felt like we had been hanging out for decades. It was amazing. And I know I'm going to do great things with these men. And so part of what all three of us have in common is one of the things I really want to talk about, because she continues to put, well, never mind. I'm going to leave that out. I have experienced recently a lot of dealing with, and in particular, it's been women who have doing this, but men certainly do this too. And actually, no, it's not true. I had a man do this too. I actually had 3 different people. One who's wasn't that important to me. I didn't really care, right? But they were really, really lame. And then someone who used to be a client of mine, and I actually do love this person, but they're just too damaged. I can't work with them anymore. And when I kind of decided that I had to end that relationship, they, I'm sure, felt really hurt and rejected. And if they're watching, I really love them and I wish nothing but the best for them. But we had kind of a unfortunate interaction. And then someone very close to me has really revealed themselves as not very developed on very important levels around maturity. And accountability is really everything, right? If you're not accountable to others, right? I'm not talking about letting other people abuse you or gaslight you. I'm talking about when you fucked up, you need to own it. And I don't mean like double down and be more of an asshole or refuse, right? Which one of these people has now tripled or quadrupled down on being a scumbag, right? And then the one that I cared the least about, I doubt that person's watching. And if they are, well, you know who you are. We had a nice little interaction on Facebook today, and you took zero accountability. And that shouldn't be surprising, because this person just doesn't strike me as a high character person, unfortunately, or at least they are utterly unable to take accountability. But if you fuck up, the correct thing to do is to take accountability for that. It's what makes us grow. If you don't take accountability, it's that first step, right, in AA is that you got to understand that you're an alcoholic. If you don't take ownership of the fact that you're an alcoholic, you're never going to stop being an alcoholic. And that applies to everything. When you fuck up and you hurt someone, you must, for your sake, almost more than theirs, right? Because that relationship might be torched, or who knows, or they might not be willing to receive it. You hurt them too bad, or who knows what. But for your sake, you have to take ownership. And taking ownership and accountability doesn't just mean that you say, hey, oh, hey, I'm sorry, right? Let's move on. I'm sorry, let's move on. Let's move on. No. You need to figure out what the impact you had, regardless of what your intent was. Now, again, you can't let people gaslight you or manipulate you. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm not talking about letting other people treat you shittily, right? Then they need to take accountability and change their behavior. But when you fuck up, right? When you fuck up, you must take accountability, and then you must figure out what the impact was for that person, and you need to figure out how to do repairs. And if you're not able to do that, you will never improve. It's almost everything in this existence on a spiritual level is your ability to take accountability, suck it up, and start making actual changes to your behaviors, even if that's really hard. And like, for example, you know, as many of my commenters, especially on the earlier videos, like to say, I talk too much, right? That's part of the reason I do a lot of lives and like my own videos now, is that sometimes I trample over my guests, and I don't mean to. It's a direct result of experiences I had when I was a kid, and I like to talk. I'm also a Chinese zodiac dragon, and dragons just tend to dominate. And so I will trample on people, and I don't actually mean to, but I do. And it's something I'm just turned 48, just had my birthday a few days ago, the 31st. It's a dragon year again, and I'm a dragon. And yeah, I was born in 76, obviously, from 48. And so, you know, I'm not a young man, but that doesn't mean you never stop growing. You never stop taking accountability. And really the things that are the longest, deepest patterns, there's the greatest reward if you can unravel it. And man, am I trying. Talking too much is one of the hardest for me, because I developed it so young, because I was desperate for my father's attention. I was just desperate for my father's attention. My father was gone in business all the time. He was very emotionally and physically abusive. He never like assaulted me sexually or even anything close to that. But he was physically abusive, and he was very emotionally abusive. And God, I just wanted that man's love and attention so fucking bad. And he was a big talker, and he would absolutely, he would literally give me the back of his hand if I ever interrupted him. And he would talk for 2 hours straight, and breathing with gills behind his ears, I assume, because it seemed like he didn't take a breath. And then I would talk, and then he would immediately like talk over me. And that was, you know, I wanted to be like my dad. You know, my dad was also a narcissist, and I had this horrible pattern of dating women who are like my father, because your mother teaches you about your relationship with yourself, right? And so you have to unravel all the bullshit that your mom gave you in order to have a better relationship with yourself. But your father teaches you about the relationship with the other, because the mother, you're a part of her and you eventually separate from her. And that relationship really determines how you relate to yourself. Because for a long period of time, when you're in very early developmental stage as a baby, you and your mom aren't separate. And so the way you relate with your mother teaches you how do you relate with yourself. And your father's the first other. You know that your father, if he's around, you know that he's not you. And he's like one of the first relationships that you really form. Maybe siblings, but if you have a decent father, and my father, very complicated man, but he was around, right? And he took care of his family. He never left my mom. He worked really hard for my family. And he did teach me a lot, you know, and he was like an encyclopedia of knowledge. And a lot of my knowledge of history comes directly from my father. But I developed characteristics of how I relate to others that I still need to refine. Like, you know, I broke all the chains of abuse except for yelling. I have yelled at my, my son, who's 15 and a half. I've definitely yelled at him and I regret it. And I've told him, hey, I broke sex abuse chain. I broke physical violence chain, and I just didn't have the strength, you know, and I wasn't healed enough by the time I had him, in order to not ever yell at him or be emotionally abusive. I definitely have been. And it's like, gosh, it's so hard to have that. And that's another tip on how to develop guilt versus remorse. Guilt is crippling, and it's low key a way to avoid taking accountability. Oh, I'm going to torture myself to make up for it. That doesn't do anyone any good. And it's a bitch move, right? You're not taking accountability. Remorse is different, because remorse means you recognize that what you did was wrong and you're going to change it. If you're truly remorseful, you're going to change it. And that's such a fucking key difference. And so I'm just trying to explain that, you know, it's still work in progress for me, but accountability is something I really pride myself on. Constant change is something I really pride myself on. I feel like I've had 3 lifetimes since I was on that trip. But I just can't emphasize enough how important these things are if you really want to become who you were always destined to be. Because everyone watching this, especially people who've been watching this, you know, for the past 27 minutes, right? You were put on this earth here at the end of the Kali Yuga for a reason. Deep down inside, you know that. That's why you watch this channel. It's not about me. It's about you. It's literally about you. Something about me is attractive to you, and I can tell you what it is. It's that you want to use my story to inspire yourself to be who you're always meant to be. At least that's the hope. That's literally the hope I have for this channel, is that I hope to inspire people. You know, when I talk about my glow up, right? It's not meant to just swing my dick around. Sure, I want to own it, and it's enjoyable how my life is changing in such a radically positive way. But what I really want more than anything else is for you to experience what I've experienced, meaning that you become who you're truly meant to be, that you step into your power, because we need you. Everybody on this planet needs you to step into your power. And it's what we're meant to do at this critical, pivotal moment in time, this end of the Kali Yuga. We're less than a year away from the end of the Kali Yuga. It's March 21st, 2025. Step into your power. Stop playing games. First, you got to heal that trauma. I talk about that a lot in this channel. And that's the hardest one if you have trauma. Some people don't have much trauma. Pretty much everyone, late Kali Yuga, you have some amount of trauma. But some people have lighter trauma. Some people have lighter trauma, but they're less resilient. I happen to be extraordinarily resilient, and my older sister went through way worse than I did, and she's pretty together, especially considering what she went through. My mom went through way worse than I did, and she's like very functional given what she went through, right? And my mom in particular is really good about taking accountability. She had to I've actually watched my mom grow a ton in her 70s. So if you think, oh, I'm too old to grow. Oh, really? Are you 78 or older? I doubt it based on the demographics YouTube tells me when I do the channel analysis. You can, at any point in your life, step into your power. And if you're older, probably your role will be to be a mentor, right? Like we got to pass the torch eventually to the next generation. I guarantee you, if you're watching this, you have some kind of unique set of talents, God-given talents, and they're going to look different for everyone. But if you step into that power, you will change the world, and we gotta. right? Look around you, right? Like power structures are crumbling and that needs to be replaced. You know, I talk a lot about the golden age enclaves on this channel, right? The future destiny of humanity, sowing those seeds of the golden age. And it starts here, 100%. So I'm going to real quick talk about, did it all out of order of my notes. Let's see. So I can either talk about the upcoming eclipse or the Atlantean sites. I'm going to talk about the Atlantean sites first. Tim Hogan, that guy's at another level. And people don't understand that in the role that he plays in the world, like he has to be kind of like and I don't mean this in the literal sense, and some morons will maybe run with this, but in fact, I won't even use that word because people will be like, blah, blah, blah. You have to be able to flow with what the present moment demands of you. And he's a literal grandmaster also of that. And so people who don't know him well, and I've just gotten to know him well, I felt like I really like kicked it up a notch getting to know him well, both Tim the man and also Tim in his role of grandmaster. That man, like, man, it's like he carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I wish I could talk publicly about some of the things that he's done, but he's done things like at an absolutely extraordinary level to help humanity, like absolutely extraordinary level to help humanity. And we all actually owe him a debt of gratitude. And I can't speak publicly about these things because they're private matters, and speaking about them publicly would potentially cause problems in the world. One of the things he said to me, which I can share, is he said, you have to speak to people at the level of consciousness they're at, because if you don't recognize that, and so when you speak publicly, you have to tailor it to recognizing that you're talking to people at many different levels of consciousness. But you have to speak to people at the level of consciousness they're at, because if you don't, then they will mishear it, and they might get upset or angry or freaked out, or might completely misunderstand you, run wildly in a different direction, whatever. And so as you gain more responsibility and power, you have to be more and more and more careful with your speech. And sometimes it's counterintuitive, because wisdom sometimes looks like withholding information because people aren't ready for that information. You know, for example, like they recently released that, this is incredible, but they have the bones of Jesus, Yeshua. They have the bones of Mary Magdalene. They have the bones of John the Baptist. Boy, have they said that publicly? I think so. I've talked about the vaults on this channel before. In 2019, we're going to open the vaults and like bring out some of these incredible historical treasures. And then the events of 2020 happened, right? The old thing, got to be careful, right? The lockdowns, all that stuff. And that derailed it for a number of years. But now the Templar are moving in the world, and they're revealing these like incredible things. And so when I was down there, we went around to a lot of these Mayan sites, and a lot of those Mayan sites are built on the ruins of Atlantean sites. For example, Coba, which is near Cancun, about an hour away, I think. It is actually an Atlantean port, and it's built. Coba, as we know it now, is built on these. They're pretty deeply buried. You can only see a couple of them, but there's megalithic structures under that. Much like Baalbek in Lebanon, which is a much more clear-cut example of this. There's those gigantic megalithic stones, and on top of that, the Romans built the Temple of Jupiter, I think it was. And so very often sacred sites are used by many successive civilizations or peoples, because very often those sacred sites, which are at intersections of ley lines and this kind of thing, they just attract people to them. And if there's already a bunch of these megalithic stones that were put in place, probably with ark technology, based on what Timothy Hogan has said, that you put manna inside an ark, and then you're able to levitate stones that otherwise would be impossible to move, because the manna plus the ark creates basically a pseudo anti-gravity effect. And so you can see that even in the later structures built by the Mayans, who are descended from the Atlanteans, you'll see the figure of the fallen god. And the fallen god has two legs up, and then they have like an apron, actually, like similar to the Masonic aprons. And keep in mind, the Masons, I'm not a Mason. The Masons are very complicated, right? Like, and there's definitely been some dark stuff that has come out of Masonry. I mean, even Tim talks about it, the P2 Lodge, for example, right? And Masons actually are bound to not talk bad about other Masons publicly. Like, they're literally prevented from doing that. It's meant to all be discussed in private. And so Masons will never talk negatively about other Masons. And they try and solve it internally. And certainly Masonic networks have been used. There's definitely Malachians within those Masonic networks, and there's Luciferians, and there's Most High people. I've met all three. And, people always want things to be black and white and simple, and Darth Vader coming in, dun, 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 wearing all black and just super obvious that they're evil, right? And there are people like that, right? Klaus Schwab, right? But most people are not pure good or pure evil. They're somewhere in between as they move between the Most High, Malachian, and Luciferian consciousness. And so, I just wanted to say that because some people be triggered, Masonic aprons, right? And so I just want to throw that out there. But the figure of the fallen god is actually a trident. It's an encoded trident. Trident is the symbol of Atlantis. You see it in the fleur-de-lis and then sometimes overt tridents, right? Because as the main island of Atlantis was Poseidia, right? And Poseidon was like sort of the patron deity, the god of the ocean, right? They were a seafaring people, and that was kind of like their calling card. And so you see this figure of the fallen god, and that's it's a symbol that was passed down to the Maya that they didn't even fully understand it. While I was there, we got a blessing from a Mayan and a Mayan shaman, which was amazing. Beautiful, beautiful man. Just absolutely wonderful. And there was someone that came across that I can't go into too much details about this, but there was someone had done black magic on them, and I was able to help to some degree to participate, and Grandmaster Hogan removed it from them. Unfortunately, that person has some other stuff going on in their life that's challenging for them, but at least that black magic curse was removed. And so, we're in the mouth of the dragon. We're between the eclipses, and you start with a lunar eclipse, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, there's the solar eclipse. And like a maniac, even though I'm an astrologer, I decided to go on a trip between eclipses when Mercury is now retrograde, because like Yogananda, I was like, I was like, tell me, Sri Yukteswar, when is the worst possible time to do something? Because I'm going to push my way through it to get stronger, like Goku, Super Saiyan training on the heavy gravity planet. I decided, why not make it as hard as possible on myself? And I'll go on this trip between the eclipses, and then a big section of it's Mercury retrograde, which is the worst time to travel or do business. And I'm like, traveling, doing business, communications, technology, bring it on, baby. And reality's like, oh, are you freaking stepping to me? And I was like, well, not really, but low key, yes. And reality's like, I'm going to flex on you then. And boy, ever did reality do it. And this trip was the highest of highs, and it was the lowest of lows. I feared for my life at one point when I was in Mexico. So here's one thing I can say about it is we were right next door. It seems, to the cartel. I'm not kidding. We're right next door to like someone who was 100% cartel, and it was fucking terrifying. And the place we're at seemed like bad stuff had happened there, probably cartel related. Just kind of stumbled into that by accident. And man, that was terrifying. It was terrifying, and had to push through it. And my boy Nick and we pushed through it. It was awesome. But there was some crazy stuff happened, and can't even go into it, but just really mind-bending stuff happened. But there was also these incredible highs. Like I had a business meeting with a client, and it went incredibly well, and then went on Sam Tripoli's show, and it was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. And Sam's actually coming to my area, so I'm gonna meet up with them again when he does a comedy show in Eugene. And it was fantastic to meet him in person. I love that man. Like, I love him even more. I mean, we part ways in the whole flat earth thing, but he's an incredible man. He's just such a good person, you know, and it actually softened me a bit on the flat earthers, although I don't know, like, I low-key wonder if I wasn't like Galileo or Copernicus or some of the, I think Copernicus was also burned at the stake. Galileo was for sure. Like, not because like, oh, I was Galileo, I'm so awesome, but just like, I have such a visceral response to flat earth that like, it almost feels like someone burned me at the stake for trying to bring out the truth of the generally spherical earth. And flat earthers, just don't bother. I'll block you from the channel. No time for it. Love you, but Godspeed to you. You know, go elsewhere. Don't bother with comment at the bottom. I will just block you from the channel because I'm absolutely done with it. But I do like have some kind of weird, like, visceral response to it. It's absolutely wild. It's nutty. Like, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but something about it drives me bonkers. I mean, part of it's clear, you know, definitely because I'm an astrologer, and basically I look at the stars all the time, and I think about the motion of the heavenly bodies at all times. And if you're a serious astrologer and you're not maybe like under the gun like Santos Bonacci, then you know for a fact that flat earth cannot possibly be true, right? Hollow earth, yeah, that's got legs. Flat earth, no. But so, yeah, I'm going to segue now into the eclipse, because, by the way, eclipses make zero sense if you believe in flat earth. I saw this meme going around saying, well, the ISS has never taken a video of an eclipse. Bruh. Like, why do you think people are spending like 10 grand to be in the path of totality? Because during the 2017 eclipse, I was in Portland, Oregon, and we got 99.98% totality, and the sun was completely blacked out. You couldn't see it. But what I didn't see, and I regret this deeply, was if I had just driven another 45 minutes south, I would have seen, like my brother did, totality. And totality is like crazy. You get these insane, like, wait for it. You'll see it here on the 8th of this month, when they just 4 days away, when you'll see the plasma like arcs, like the solar flares coming off the sun that you normally can't see when the moon, because of its perfect positioning, blocks it. You can see like the solar flares, the plasma, like magnetic radiation coming off the sun, but you have to be at exactly the perfect angle. And if you move way up in the sky, then you can't get that angle. Like, one of the things that's the most trippy and actually points towards the moon being a artificial satellite, along with it being hollow, proven by NASA, it's literally the exact perfect distance. If it was a little bit further away, or if it was a little bit closer to the Earth, I mean, first of all, that would fuck up our tides and stuff, but it would also, you wouldn't get totality. It's like, it's tidally locked at a Lagrange point perfectly, the perfect distance from the planet, in order to create this totality effect during eclipses. But you have to be exactly in the path of totality to see it. So, of course, when you change the angle by going up in the sky, you're not going to see that, right? So it's just absolutely ridiculous. But there's no talking to flat earthers about any of this stuff. They're just like super, super hot and heavy for flat earth, flat earth, flat earth. They're almost as bad as Klaus Schwab getting out the patented limited edition tweezers for his micro penis with the velvet tips to get in there. Oh yeah, eat some bugs, you know, like, they're almost that dedicated to their madness as Klaus Schwab. Like, there is no talking to these people. They just have to come to the conclusion on their own. And I have that weird visceral reaction, so I can't deal with it. But this eclipse is massive, right? It's creating this X over the United States. If you also look at the totality eclipse of 2017, and what was in 2017? Trump. It was Trump's first year in office, and now Trump's trying to get back in. And you could kind of see to some degree that this is a Trump eclipse, but creates an X, right? And if you look at the sigil for Lucifer, there's an X right in the middle of it. And I actually see this eclipse as like a foreshadowing of the Luciferian takeover. And that's why we have this eclipse going right over the center of the country, the actual like perfect heartland of the country. I mean, it's not exact, but it's close enough, right? And it goes over all these cities named Nevaeh and other like biblical things, stuff from the book of Revelations, like crazy stuff. Like this eclipse is a biggie. But it's not just big on the macro level, it's big on the individual level. So it's happening to me in my 1st and 7th house. And I guess I'll just go ahead and say this because why not? I doubt she's watching this anyway. But I was in a relationship and that relationship's completely blown up. And for me, this eclipse happens in my 1st house, sense of self. And my sense of self has radically changed during this course of this eclipse. And also in my 7th house, the house of relationships. And weirdly enough, I got together with her back during another eclipse back in 2022. We met right before the eclipse. We had something super significant happen right after the eclipse. And now it seems that that relationship is dissolving or radically changing forms, maybe a better way of putting it, in this eclipse. And again, it's sense of self, 1st house for me. And because I'm a Libra rising in Western, which means that Aries is my 7th house. And so the eclipse is happening right along my 1st, 7th house axis. So if you look and see which houses this eclipse falls in, you can see this insanely powerful transformative effect that it's going to have on you. You have to look at the houses and you have to understand what the houses are in order to do that. And I'm not going to do that for people. Sorry, just look it up yourself. Like it's really not that hard. Like spend some time. I mean, if you want to pay me for a chart reading, I'll definitely explain that for you. But I'm not going to answer those kind of questions. I'm just kind of like moving into astrology to where I can work with people who are in positions to where working with them, I can guide them to help make a great impact on the world. I was a social worker a long time ago, and I did, what seems like, well, it wasn't really that long ago, actually. It's just 4 years ago. I was a social worker. This time 4 years ago was right around the time, actually, it's almost exactly when I quit my job 4 years ago. Wow, that's really interesting. As a social worker, which I had done for 17 years. And I was working within a totally corrupted system and it didn't work. And now I'm working with people who are in positions of power to where they can use that power and wealth and influence to make the world a better place. And I screen my clients, my high level VIP clients. I will not work with Malachians, absolutely not. And if I work with people who are at a Luciferian level of consciousness, I'm going to influence them as much as I'm humanly capable of, in order to use their wealth and power and their position to make this world a better place and help guide them through it and help guide them to spiritually develop, because that's what's going to change the world. And we all have our different roles in the world. That's just my role as an astrologer, is to be an advisor to kings and queens, and princes and princesses. Like the angels have told me that, and I'm owning it, I'm embracing it, and I'm doing what I can in the world. And it doesn't matter where your talents lie. Like you have a much bigger impact in the world than you might think. And so if you look at which houses this eclipse is happening in, you're going to find that there's incredible transformation. And there may also be deep, deep wounds coming up. Like all my relationship wounds are coming up right now because this eclipse is also happening conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. And so you're going to have to heal through your wounds. You're going to get triggered. You probably already have been triggered. And this is a time of fated, destined meetings. This is a time of global and personal transformation, as above, so below, the Hermetic principle. And so figure out what it means in your chart and lean into it. Lean into it. It's all about that accountability, baby. It's all about that accountability and that personal healing. And with that, you're going to be able to change the world. And so that is the first half. We're going to do Q&A in the second half. I'm just going to take a quick break, and you guys can all take a quick break. I'll be back in the next 5 minutes-ish, and I will then answer questions in the second half. I just got to find my little break screen. I'm going to pull that up, and I will see you guys all in about 5 minutes, and I'll just actually write this Q&A. When I return, if you could write your questions in bold. I don't know if moderator L is in. And Ryan in New York, I'm going to leave up that comment because it's just money. And I could not agree more. The earth is about as, let's see, who's someone who's famous for that? The earth is about as flat as Dolly Parton. Real earth's got curves, y'all. So Q&A when I return, and I will see you guys shortly. And look forward to answering your questions second half. I'm really not gonna, maybe I'll do like a 2-second reading on if you tell me what your houses are. Look it up during the break, figure out which houses it occurs in. If you don't know how to do that, you know, you can book a reading with me. Would love to do it. I am at the end of this month, I'm just gonna say at the end of this month, I'm definitely done. I'm done doing readings that aren't for people who are willing to pay me to go super deep on their chart, because if I go really deep on a chart, which is a tremendous, insane amount of work, then I can guide people at a very high level. And I'm going to be doing angelic magic classes. I'm going to keep that affordable. I mean, I am going to ask to be paid a reasonable sum for my time, but I give a tremendous amount in that. It's all about personal transformation. I'm having an angelic magic class. I'm going to be opening up registration for that tomorrow. It's going to be sometime in May. I'm not sure exactly when. And that's going to, I'm having way more seats this time because moderator L, oh, there she is. Yay, Elle is there. And shout out to Elle. Shout out to Heather Russo. Heather, thank you so much for helping me work on, I'm working on getting the ball rolling on some kind of in-person meetup for people who are interested in the topics we talk about in the channel. I'm not sure if I'm going to have other experts there or live stream in. We'll see how that works. I'm definitely going to have an online version and an in-person version for people who are interested. That'll be in late September, you know, assuming that like the entire world hasn't gone completely batshit insane and where we can't do that. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. Things are definitely going to heat up later this year. But anyways, angelic magic will always be open. Spiritual guidance, we'll see. I may also be ending that too, because that is also extremely taxing. And I just need to really focus my energies in areas where it can be most effective. And I'm going to be working with people very soon on a think tank, and very well healed people want to work on the Golden Age enclaves. And so I'm going to do that. I mean, I want to impact things on a high level to have the biggest, broadest impact. It's just what my soul's destiny is. I'm very fortunate that the angels have given me such clear guidance on what my dharma is. And everyone's dharma is different. And everyone's, you never know, you know, school teachers, they help bring up a child, or mothers or fathers who are bringing up children. Like, honestly, like that's the real sauce. That's the real work. If you can change a child's life, that child might change the world. And, you know, some of you may have huge callings, meaning like you're operating in the macro, but it's as above, so below, and it all starts within. And if you change yourself within, you've done the work. That's what matters. It's not about like, oh, did I do some major world changing event or not? I mean, if you feel that calling, it's probably true. But if you don't, then like, that's okay. Like everything matters. Creating art, music, poetry, right? Having scientific breakthroughs, maybe you're engineering some new app. There's all kinds of different ways that talent can come out. You know, everyone has different talent. You just got to find it and unlock your own dharma. And so if you're interested in getting a reading, April 30th is the last day to book a reading at the prices for natal and Navamsa charts. And then after that, it's going to be only astrological concierge level clients. You know, or people who at least want to have maybe a 10 or 15 hour, maybe even a 20-hour retainer with me in order to ask me ongoing questions. And you can use up the retainer to do a deep dive chart, whatever. But yeah, that is going to be closing April 30th will be the last day. So if you want to book a reading with me, it is literally now or never. All right, I got to real quick mute myself. All right, and since I've already hit Dr. Disrespect, Leroy Jenkins, and Ric Flair, I've actually hit all three already. I'm going to have to summon my inner Morty Seinfeld and go, I'm back, baby! All right, so let us get rolling. And thank you to Elle. You are a treasure. Appreciate you so much. Thank you again to Heather Russo, absolutely amazing woman. Thank you to Vinay, who's helping me upload to Rumble. Shout out again to Brent, the maestro, for the new introduction. Oh, by the way, what do people think of that new introduction? Have you seen that yet with the 9 choirs? It's fire. It's absolute fire. I'm working on a slight tweak on it that I'm going to put in there. And so shout out to Clint Corley. So Brent War. Oh, well, sorry. I guess I doxed you there, Brent. Oopsies. Brent, you are a legend. Thank you, brother. I consider you a friend. I'm pulled in a million different directions right now. I actually, unfortunately, missed out on being able to hang out with Brent. Was coming by to my neck of the woods. He lives down in Cali. I'm sure we'll hook up at some point, my man. Thank you, Maestro, for beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. Thank you, Krista, the Heavenly Angel, on vocals. And thank you, Clint Corley, for the beautiful visuals. Like, you people are amazing. Thank you, Heather Russo. You are a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. Amazing, amazing woman on many, many levels. I'm humbled to know you. I appreciate everything you do. And thank you to Elle. Elle, you are a queen and a legend for helping with all the many things. Elle is my executive assistant. She wears many hats. She's a literal magician. She was one of my angelic magic students, and she's really just been tremendously helpful. I just feel so humbled and supported by all these amazing people who've been helping me. And to any of my former angelic magic students who are watching, much love. Maybe say something in the comments, like if you felt that angelic magic has had a transformative effect for you, maybe say something in the comments. There is a chance, no guarantees, there is a chance that Sam Tripoli is going to take my class. We'll see. And if he does, for the love of God, don't harass the man, or say, oh my God, it's just enjoy his presence, right? Because like, he's at a level of fame now to where, like, I witnessed him being pulled in a million different directions when I was in studio. So let's give the man respect. And just if he's in the group, be excited. And if not, then that's, I'm definitely not in any way guaranteeing that. I might have to actually teach him one-on-one just so he can have his privacy. But, because once you reach his level of fame, you start to crave privacy. You start to crave being able to do it. Actually, real quick, I'm going to just put something up real quick because I need to do something real quick. I'm not sure what the YouTube rules are around cannabis. It's legal in my state, and I use it for pain. And it's fucking rainy and cold here. Came back. I was like, my back is all better when I was in Mexico and LA. Wow, it turns out that weather matters. Like, if I didn't have a son that was rooted here in Oregon with his mother, then I would absolutely move to a warmer state because this rainy, cold still and fucking April thing, I'm super over it at this point in my life. All right, let's get into this. Hirschman says, do you have any insight into the tarot? Full equals booties? I don't know the full equals booties. I think that's a different tarot deck you're using there. I want to see that deck. That's the non-flat. That's thick earth with 3 C's. I don't know if you guys seen that meme. It's my favorite clapback on flat earth. They're like, whom would win, flat earth or thick earth? And it shows like a woman's luscious ass in a G-string bikini, but like the earth is mapped onto like this thick booty ladies thing. And it says real earth has curves, right? So I don't know what you mean by fool equals boots. Magician equals Oificus. Devil equals Taurus. Oh, fixed stars. I see. Sorry. I have a dirty mind and was thinking about booties for some reason. Ding. So yeah, I do not have any insight onto that. I am somewhat of a novice when it comes to the tarot. It's actually something where I need to step up my game. I haven't heard of these associations before. Devil's definitely not Taurus, in my opinion. Devil would for sure, no shade towards Capricorns. Like Martin Luther King was a Capricorn. Is Gandhi a Capricorn too? Martin Luther King was a Capricorn. Nixon was a Capricorn. I'm trying to think. Who else was a Cappy? Anyways, great people have been Capricorns, is my point. That said, the lower version of Capricorn is definitely the tyrant, and I would say that's the devil. It's the lower aspect of Saturn. It's the lower aspect of, is like sort of like Capricorn in its most materialistic and manipulative form. So I definitely don't agree with that particular one, just from an astrological archetypal point of view, but perhaps someone wiser than me has made that association and I'm incorrect. That might be. Unfortunately, I do not have enough data to give you, people like to say, oh, Ian, you act like you know it all. Nope, definitely do not. And this is a perfect example. I do not know the answer to this, Hirschman. This is a fantastic question. I wish I could answer it. And their relation to the sky. No, but there's definitely astrological corollaries to the tarot. And, now that I think about it, I think, no, there's 22 trump cards, if I remember correctly. I was thinking that maybe it had something to do with the nakshatras or lunar mansions. But anyways, let's go on to the next one. Ryan and NC says, this eclipse has been planned for and anticipated for thousands of years. Infrastructure is built in this country around this eclipse happening. The question is why? The Lucy's no. And, oh, I wish I had a hat on. Let me see if I can, well, I don't have a hat on. Oh, no, it's glasses I need. Okay, I got a new pair of glasses, everyone. So I can use this. One of my favorite things on the internet that's so savage is look up slow clap guys. And it's all these guys, and they have, what do you guys think of those glasses? If I turn off the lights, you won't be able to see me. The screen is what's reflecting. There we go. Yeah, I like them. I just got them. Feels really nice. My old prescription was like 5 years old. So they were giving me headaches and stuff. So it's nice to have it. But anyways, the whole point of this is to be the slow clap guy who he raises his glass and goes, at the end, everyone, there's all these snobby fraternity or New England old money college, right? And there's the professor looking older gentleman at the bottom, but they all start doing a very, very, very savagely sarcastic slow clap. And at one point, the professor looking guy at the bottom, he goes, it's so sarcastic. He raises his glass of sherry you really fucking scored here. And it's absolutely savage. And in no way is it sincere. It's the most brutal thing I've ever seen in my life. Look it up. It's hilarious. It's such a savage response when someone self-owns. For example, someone says they believe in flat earth. Sorry, flat earthers. I had to just get one more in there. And that won't be the last. Let's be honest. Let's be real. All right, let's see. Stormcrawl said, I had a dream I was attacked by a demon, and when I woke, my left kidney area was sore for about a month, followed by some medical events. Could this have been a real spiritual attack? Intuitively, yes. Intuitively, right off the top of the dome. Kidney. So kidney's about elimination. Yeah, I don't know. Think about what was happening at that time. Think about any fights that had happened previously, especially if you know anyone who dabbles in it. Look, if it was a real spiritual attack, there are free roaming spirits, or more rarely, wouldn't say free roaming demons, but someone didn't properly dismiss a demon, and sometimes demons will go have some fun before they get sent back to the lower astral, and by their version of fun is to fuck with people. What you're describing sounds more like, if indeed it is a spiritual attack, and my intuition said yes, but I don't know. You would have to consider who do I know in my personal life who is a magician, right? Who's into the occult, right? And or did I directly before it? Because if it's a stranger, Usually, if a stranger does this kind of thing, they would do it right away because you did something that really pissed them off right before it. Like if you really pissed someone off right before it, then that might explain it. But you would have probably had to do something kind of bad, or you had done something in a previous life that to that person that gave them the karmic right to use black magic on you and do a spiritual attack. Sometimes other spirits attack. It could be that it was another spirit attack. My intuition makes me feel like maybe if you know someone who's into the occult and esoteric in your life, and if you've wronged them especially, sorry for the pit stain, but whatever, I'm just gonna own it. Then I would look into that and like just try and get right with it. But for sure, always like there's an interaction between mind, spirit, and body and emotions, right? All of those like kind of there's the different sheaths from the Hindu point of view, but all of those things are interrelated. And so be sure you take care of the body, especially for having any kind of kidney problem, and maybe look into remedies you can do to help heal the kidneys, natural remedies, right? Like I wouldn't go to a doctor for this. I would look into what kind of plant-based medicine you could do to help deal with that kidney area. More than likely, they discharge whatever karmic right they had to attack you. If it continues, it's possible if you have some kind of like weakness in your energetic field and you perhaps like went to what can happen is sometimes nasty spirits will hop from one person to another, or you go into an area where there's a nasty spirit lurking about. Usually it's like something very dark has happened there. It's like it's a graveyard, or maybe there was a murder there, or what's usually these things kind of things happen, although usually astral parasites wouldn't do something quite so harsh as what you're describing. Using astral parasites more of like a slow draining effect, and just things are off, right? And you have bad luck a lot, things like that. This sounds like it was more like a pointed attack, so it makes it less likely. But spiritual fairs, psychic fairs, like you really want to have shields up if you attend those kind of things, because a lot of people don't, and then they pick up all these nasty, creepy crawlies, or maybe they're dumb enough to be dabbling with black magic, and that shit's crawling on them, and they see someone who has a spiritual opening, usually from trauma, and they hop. Could be that, but I think it sounds more like it was a directed spiritual attack, so black magic of some kind. Let's see. What's 3:33 p.m.? Why is CERN doing stuff on that day and saying 3 rockets at 3:33? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'm very curious about all those things. I will say this: CERN has been demonstrated, according to Dr. Joseph Farrell, who's usually money on this kind of research. According to Dr. Joseph Farrell, when they turn on CERN, it doesn't just influence the Earth's magnetic field; it actually influences the sun, which is fucking insanity itself. How much power must be going through that to be influencing the sun? And CERN, I don't know if you know this, but CERN is its own. It's its own, what do you call it? Sovereign entity, the same way Washington, D.C., the Vatican, the City of London is. So I don't know the answer to it, but I'm very curious. The name for what NASA is doing is Apep, which is the serpent god of Egypt, which seems to me to be, since it's the enemy of the sun, so is Rahu and Ketu, but Rahu is the head of the dragon, or the serpent's the north node, and the eclipse is happening because of Rahu, the moon, and sun all being aligned, and Rahu is the node of the moon. And whenever, like, the moon was eclipsed by Ketu, but the sun's going to be eclipsed by Rahu, and that's very similar to Apep, the Egyptian snake god. It seems it's pointing to the same figure, and that's very interesting. Supposedly, these rockets will just explode, and then they're going to see blah blah blah, global warming, some stuff. But come on, right? Like, come on, like. Also, come on. Okay, I already read that. Why is CERN doing stuff? Okay, I just answered that. Let's see. So eclipse is in my 9th house. Today is actually my 4th birthday. Hey, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever seen you before, Jessica Domogala, Domo Alagala, Mr. Robala. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. So it would be then in the 9th, 3rd house axis. And so the 3rd house, right, which is where K2 will be, you got to look at the entire axis because it's very important. So the 3rd house is younger siblings, right? Vedic, from a Vedic perspective. And so it's possible this isn't happening. So you're probably thinking from a Western perspective. Most of this is still true, but I've gone so deep in Vedic that I'm a little bit like shaky, to be honest, on Western, like what the houses mean. It's just not as emphasized in Western. But in Vedic, the third house would be younger siblings, short journeys, communication, business, right? Not commerce, really more so like if you're like an entrepreneur or something like that. And so I would look at like where it's also the arts. I would look at where those so like all the arts other than painting, weirdly, but like basically all other arts, like the full thing from acting, dancing, singing. I think sculpting might be. It seems like the visual arts are. They're a different house, which is kind of funny, but all other arts other than I think sculpting, painting, and maybe drawing, which are all visual arts, are in a different house, and they're in the third house. And so you have to think about, how is this stuff relevant in my life, and have I noticed any big themes, especially a few weeks ago, around those things, right? But this entire period of time, those themes are going to come up, and any planets that are conjunct the nodes. And so then the ninth house is father, it's guru or teacher, it's good fortune, or potentially bad fortune if you have a really afflicted ninth house or ninth lord. And so, yeah, it would be like themes around those things. And so, wow, 40th, that's crazy. So that also means you're switching. It's not going to happen right away, but over the next few years, you switch out of your natal chart into your Navamsa chart, like if you haven't already. In some rare instances, other people go into, that was because I know someone's watching who I believe they're in their Navamsa already, so it's kind of somewhat of an inside joke, but they're under 40. It's fairly rare, in my opinion, that someone who's under 40, although this person may have a point, is able to switch into their Navamsa. It's very rare, but once you hit 40, if you're a self-reflective person, you're going to move into your Navamsa, and so you can have a completely different. My first 40 years, like you look at my natal chart and Vedic astrology, I'm like, wow, that is just as bad as my experience in my first 40 years was, which was trash. But much like J.K. Rowling, and hopefully to that level of stacked cash, I have a much better second half of life chart than I do first half of life chart. You could be the same. Some people have a worse second half of life. Most people have a general continuation of the general level of wealth and power they had, but maybe with some variations. I suspect if you watch this channel, there's a decent chance that your second half of life is at least equal power, if not greater power. And so, yeah, just something to think of. Oh, angelic magic is definitely life changing. So this is someone I deeply respect. I don't know if Alex is still up. He might have passed out, but this is a man I deeply respect. He has deep knowledge about numerology and quite a bit of other esoteric and occult subjects. And so thank you so much, Brother Alex, for that. That means a lot to me. He said in the intro music is awesome. Yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. So if you have a question, help L out by writing it in all caps. So Living Free said, hi, Ian. In the coming Bronze Age, will blood sacrifice rituals, dark rituals still be in effect among the Luciferians? Do you mean the Malachians? The Luciferians don't. I don't know if I could say they never have, but they're not really into that sacrifice stuff. That's more a Malachian thing. You know, the harming kids and the sacrifice thing, that is definitely more Malachian. And so if you're asking, will the Malachians do that kind of thing? No, they will. First of all, they're going to get largely wiped out here soon. But secondly, we just won't be at that level of consciousness. That's a very low level of consciousness. So it might not disappear instantly, like, March 21st, 2025, but by 2030, I believe that it'll be largely gone, if not completely gone. I know pedophilia will be driven from this world in a major way, because otherwise the Luciferians can't take over. They simply cannot, because it keeps that portal open to the lower astral where Moloch is, the harm of children. That's why they do it. That's why they're obsessed with it. That's why they're trying to normalize it right now. It's so insane how insane things are. All right. Again, if you have a question that hasn't been answered, I'm actually to the end of the questions for L, retype it out in all caps. Oh, someone just did that cosmic. Wow, cosmic snake. How interesting, because the eclipse is kind of a cosmic snake in a certain sense. So Jessica Domagala again. Domo Alagala, Mr. Rabala. I'm just going to do it every time, Jessica. I can't help myself. I have that stick stuck in my head. NASA name makes more sense of the concept of the mythology of Apophis chasing the sun and almost getting it right. Wow, that is a great point. I hadn't considered that. Wow. So Apophis. Is Apophis Greek? Is that maybe the Greek name for Rahu? That's like, if that's not a typo, then that's a god I'll just be honest, I'm not familiar with. Interesting. I don't know. Like, there's so many different things that explain, like, you know, they have the whole relationship between the scarab dung beetle in Egypt and like rolling the ball of poop, but then also like they have one that like moves the sun into place in like one of their versions of certain myths. And so like they're, you know, mythology is a vast and deep subject, and I will, again, you guys are crushing me tonight with like great questions that I don't have the answer to. I just don't have enough data to answer that, but that's a really interesting question. And if there is indeed a god named Apophis, which I'll take your word for it, then, and that does ring the faintest of bells, then that is a fantastic question. And unfortunately, I can't answer it. See, I'm very stumpable. I do not know everything. It's happened multiple times when I've tried to use Jesus's name. They laughed in my face that because I'm not a devout Christian. I am not sure what that's in relationship to. I feel like there's I mean, I guess, let me see. What was your question earlier? Didn't you ask about like a demon attacking you? It's happened multiple times when I'm trying to use Jesus' name. Who laughed in your face? Do you mean like some spirit did? Yeah, I would say Yeshua, for starters. J didn't exist during his time. The J noise, I mean, that noise existed, of course, but it wasn't really like, his name was Yeshua, for starters. But I would call on Archangel Michael. Available as long as you're not doing black magic, Archangel Michael will come and will help you. Archangel Michael will absolutely wreck shop and get whatever you're dealing with out of there. That's what I'd recommend, because that has nothing to do with Christianity. But Yeshua would probably drive off a demon if said with conviction, and if you have a relationship with Yeshua. If you don't have a relationship with Yeshua, yeah, it's not going to have as much power, right? The angels will come to you regardless, but Yeshua is very specific. And while a merciful God, probably, this is a very long-winded say of sort of, kind of yes, but not exactly. But Archangel Michael should take care of business. But you need to get the root of what's happening. And I mean, if you want to book a session with me, we can try and tune into it. But, you know, you're just going to have to, like a spiritual guidance session, you're just going to have to like figure it out and deduce, who have I wronged in my life that would have the karmic right to do this to me? And then try and resolve that situation, at least within yourself. Yeah. So there's lots of people who would do it. So, oh, Apep is Apophysis, that one god. How does the eclipse affect the 8th and 2nd houses? Great question. So 2nd house is income and kind of home life, especially in terms of harmony. It's also speech. So it would have an effect on big speeches. It depends on whether the 2nd house is Libra or whether the 2nd house is Aries for you, right? And again, I'm doing it from a Vedic perspective, and it could be that if you use whole signs instead of Placidus, is usually the most commonly used house method. If you use whole signs like they do in Vedic astrology and use the sidereal zodiac, that's kind of what I'm basing what I'm saying on. But the themes are largely the same. So 2nd house is income, household harmony, and speech are like kind of the main themes. There's lesser indications, but those are the 3 big ones. So if that's your Libra, that would have been what happened a little while ago, and it wouldn't have the same emotional hit. But if that's your Aries, right, then you're going to have a much bigger emotional hit because of the Chiron wounding, probably maybe around income and self-worth, something like that. And then 8th house is mystical experiences. It's also betrayal, secret, just any kind of secret hidden things, cheating, right? Like infidelity, a partner screwing you over in business. Those are negative ones. It could be astrology. It could be psychic, mystical experiences. It could be a sudden inheritance or legacy of some kind, not necessarily money. It could be insurance or insurance windfall or battles with insurance companies over money. So it could be conspiracies. The eighth house is my favorite house. I have a very stocked eighth house, and I have a very stocked second eighth house axis in my Navamsa. And so, yeah, that's, again, if you want to go deeper on that, I can certainly answer questions in a reading, but I'm not going to, I'll answer one little brief question for people who ask that, but I'm not going to give you just a free deep reading and take up everybody else's time. Apep, which is Apophysis, it was the ancient Egyptian spirit of evil, darkness, and destruction. As the arch enemy of the sun god Ra, he was a malevolent force who could never be entirely vanquished. Yeah, it's Rahu. It's Rahu, the north node of Vedic astrology, the head of the dragon. So then real quick, now that I know that that's who Apophysis is, NASA names that, makes sense, the mythology of Apophis chasing the sun and almost getting it right. Well, right. See, an eclipse is when, for a brief moment, the luminary is swallowed by either Rahu, the head of the dragon, the drive for carnal material experiences, or Ketu, the beheaded body of the demon, which is about past lives, past connections, and has a dissolving effect, and it tends to be more spiritual. Rahu tends to be more, excuse me, more material. Rahu is more material, and Ketu has a dissolving effect and is more spiritual. And they both teach you about spirituality. Rahu from either giving you your carnal material desires and it not satisfying you, or being denied those and that certainly not satisfying you. And Ketu can have a psychic quality, but tends to be dissolving. And so in this case, Rahu will briefly eat the sun for some period of time. That's why in a lot of ancient cultures, it was considered such a horrific, foreboding omen, right? Because it talks about, this evil demon, Rahu Ketu, who was beheaded by Vishnu, but not after taking a drop of the Amrita and become immortal. That force is definitely considered demonic, although Rahu, both of them can actually operate in a positive way. They both have a higher octave and a lower octave. Rahu, in particular, can be incredibly positive, but doesn't satisfy you. John Lennon famously had Rahu conjunct his lagna or ascendant line 0 degrees, like I have Pluto conjunct 0 degrees my ascendant, and it's exalted for him in Virgo. It's one of the best places for Rahu to operate. There's arguments over which signs the nodes are exalted in, and so regardless of whether it's exalted in Virgo or not, it certainly operates very well there. And when he went into his Rahu Mahadasha, or major planetary period where Rahu, the karmas of Rahu unfolded, he went from being in Liverpool pubs with the Beatles to being probably the most famous band of all time. I think I can just safely say the Beatles were the most famous, most influential, most powerful. Blah, yeah. They were Tavistock, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. They were monumentally influential and famous. And John Lennon had unlimited money, fame. Well, maybe not so much money, but fame. He had unlimited fame, and he had unlimited sexual appetite, and went absolutely nuts for women. It was just amazingly powerful period of time for him, but at the end of it, he didn't feel satisfied, and he lost almost everything he had gained. That's everything Rahu tends to do. Unless you gracefully exit stage left, then it's taken from you. I'm actually going into my Rahu Mahadasha, and my Rahu is very activated right now. I'm going into my Rahu Mahadasha in the fall, and actually my Rahu Mahadasha looks to be insanely powerful. But Rahu teaches you about what happens when you get, wealth and fame and power and influence, or you're denied what you feel as those things you should get. It's denied. It's either giving you carnal experiences. I don't just mean sex. I mean literally visceral experiences. or denying those, the things you really want the most. It'll deny that from you, and that will give you spiritual growth. Or you get it and it's just hollow. Like, I'm friends with Joel David Moore, who well, we used to be friends. When I was in school, in middle school, I was friends with him, and he is in the Avatar movies, right? That's the Norm Spellman character. I don't know, maybe he died. I don't think he died at the end of the first one. So actually, I'm almost positive he's in the second one. I haven't seen it yet. But, you know, Avatar, the blue-skinned alien movies. He's also in Dodgeball and Mama's Boy. But, you know, I knew him when we were kids before he became famous. We were like best friends for like a minute there, and then we kind of drifted apart. Oopsies. He's now, you know, very wealthy and famous, but I hung out with him, you know, like my mom and his mom are really close. And my mom also supported Joel when nobody else did, including me, in his dream of becoming an actor. But he became super famous, quite possibly during his Rahu Mahadasha. That would actually make a ton of sense. I want to do Joel's chart. Boy, I now want to do Joel's chart. That'd be awesome. Anyways, but he seems to be not super satisfied by it. And certainly John Lennon was not, even though he had unlimited. I won't say a foul word. He had unlimited access to female comforts. Does that work? And he just didn't find it satisfying. It's happened multiple times when, yeah, okay, we already did that one. Clips in the second, eighth houses. I just had to go up. Looks like a possessed person with a distorted face. Yep, Archangel Michael for the win. You might want to work with someone who can remove that spirit. If you want to book a session with me, I can try it. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to deal with whatever it is. There's people who specialize in that. I mean, if you have like, that sounds like perhaps an actual ghost, for lack of a better word, like someone who died suicide or murder. Usually they didn't go through the solar gate at all. They stayed and they're kind of stuck in between the astral dream world and the physical material world. And they tend to be like totally like disconnected and delusional and insane. And sometimes they don't even mean to. They can haunt you. Someone I know was haunted by a deceased relative. That's something that can come from, interestingly enough, the nodes. God, there's a certain house and sign, and I forget what it is, where with the nodes that can cause you to be haunted by deceased relatives. Because it's usually a relative if it's a ghost, unless you live in a house where someone was murdered. You know, I mean, did you recently move and this started happening? Because GTFO, get the fuck out of there, bro. But like, there's people who are exorcists. It's not really my bag. I don't really like to deal with angry spirits. I can deal with them. I could give it a shot, but I don't really guarantee. And I actually kind of have a bad feeling about that. So I would actually say there's people who are specialized in exorcising, getting rid of demons. There's shamans, people from all kinds of different faiths. There's people who can definitely get that unlocked. And I'm just going to say I'm going to tap out on this one. I feel instinctively like I won't be able to actually help you. And so never mind that about booking a session. If you did, I can refund you, or you can put it towards astrology, whatever you want. Probably didn't already do it, but I would just say don't do it. Find someone online who can do that. You know, make sure you get references and stuff. All right, and then the lovely L says, any good sources or books or sites for Vedic astrology? Yeah. So Linda Johnson, 1,000 Suns, is probably the one that I would recommend for someone who's new. It's the best one. It hits most of the basic principles. And then you can go from there, and there's a million jillion books on it, you know, and eventually you want to get to the level where you, dang it, it's the reverse right here. See those two blue ones? That's the Brihat Parashara Aura. It's kind of like the original young Aboriginal. Sorry, little Beastie Boys came through there. It's basically like when they first wrote down the core principles of Vedic astrology. Oh man, what was it? You know, it had been an oral tradition. I want to say they put it down around 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, something like that. So 500 BC, 1000 BCE, something like that. Parashara, the great sage and Vedic astrologer who was like super tapped in, like he was gifted it, you know, from an oral tradition or directly. He was a rishi, directly from the spirits. But I think it was the spirits had probably given it to them during the, you know, I think Vedic astrology is like Atlantean astrology for the Kali Yuga. And it's because we're in the Kali Yuga and how evil people would use this for no good. They say that the gods have blinded us to 30%, and we can only be 70% accurate unless you're enlightened like Sri Yukteswar. And supposedly if you're enlightened, you know what you can say and what you shouldn't say to help someone be able to grow. Because if you know with flawless perfection everything that's going to happen in your life, it takes the visceral nature of it. That is why we incarnated here in the physical world, to have certain experiences in order to grow spiritually, or at least have the opportunity, better put, to grow spiritually. So Linda Johnson, 1,000 Suns, Designing Your Future with Vedic Astrology. That's Linda, JOHNSEN. I think that's the best starter Vedic astrology book. That's what I'd recommend. And once you finish that, there's a million other ones out there. I may do classes at some point. Actually, Elle is helping me design, very, very talented lady. She's helping me design the angelic magic class so I can have more people. She's very the opposite of me, hyper organized, or at least has the ability to. No, I think she's just always hyper organized, actually, come to think of it. But she has helped me get down my dumping of thoughts into like a readable, legible document. And she's just a whiz. She's helped me with all kinds of things. So thank you, Elle. How do you calculate Rahu Mahadasha? You got to get Vedic astrology software and look at what Mahadasha you're in. Jagannatha Aura, Jagnatha Aura, HORA, Jagannatha Aura is a free Vedic astrology. I'll even type it out for you. Jagannatha Aura. It's a free Vedic astrology software. You can download it. I usually use that. There's like professional software as well, but Jagannatha Aura gets it done. And I don't like to lean too heavy on Vedic astrology software to do the work for me. Meaning, like, I don't want to have it's nice to have them like calculate the charts. That I definitely have zero interest in doing. That shit's insane. And same thing with calculating the dasha is also insane. Let the computer do the heavy lifting on that. But things like yogas, which are extremely important, yokes of destiny, certain planetary combinations, I want that to come from the dome, and my understanding. Sure, I'll do research. I have something like fully a third of my books, and I have a bunch on the floor over here because I just ran out of shelf space, are about Vedic astrology. I mean, I take my science of light / art of interpretation very, 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 very seriously indeed. I think I'm probably, no, not kidding, I think I'm probably, at least among white people, on the short list of one of the best Vedic astrologers in the country. I really think so. And I mean, I think my clients agree. Like, that's why people pay me a lot of money, my high-end clients, is because, like, I'm really, really good at what I do. And that comes from grinding hard for, let's see, when did I start? 2017. So I'm like 16 and a half years of studying. I mean, when I study something, I kind of go insane. Like, and Vedic astrology is unfathomably deep. Now, if there's Indian practitioners, as in they're from India and they were raised in that milieu, you know, or they're much older than me, there might be some astrologers like Sam Jeppy. He's definitely better at the science part. I think I'm better at the art than him. He's really good though, but that's probably about the only person that I'm aware of in the US. Now, in India, it's another story entirely. There's dudes there in their 80s that crush it. There's like a 15-year-old there who just slaps the shit out of me how good he is. Like, he's just a prodigy and a just insane genius. And so there's way better Vedic astrologers than me, but not many in the US, I don't think, unless they're Indian, especially if they moved here recently and I'm just not aware of them, right? They're not like a public figure the way, like, say, Sam Jeppy is, who I've learned a lot from Sam Jeppy. All right. Thoughts on the upcoming red heifer sacrifice? Yeah, I talked about that a lot in the last episode. And actually, just watch that episode. There's a reason that I actually don't want to comment on that further. Go ahead and watch the last episode, and you will get pretty much all the information you need. So I'm going to go back now, and I'm just going to kind of see what the conversation was. Let's see here. Meow said hello and happy birthday. Thank you, Meow. I don't know if you're still watching this, but maybe you'll come back and watch it. What is that? Oh, a dragon. That's awesome. Thank you, Meow. And I love your galaxy, your non-flat Earth avatar. Fantastic. 187. Really? Ryan, but that's actually like, loved you, brother, but that's actually not super vibration to like slam on someone else's name. You know, like why? Did they say something to you that I missed? If not, then that's not cool, man. And like, you know, you don't need to be calling out other commenters. Please don't do that. Or actually, like, that one wasn't too toxic, but like if I see people being toxic to other people in the chat, you're gonna get the boot. So like we all make mistakes. It's Mercury retrograde right now, but like let's not pick on other people on the channel. Speaking on the Yuga, Alchemical Science YouTube channel just dropped some amazing info on Malcolm Bendel's plasma work, transmutation of matter. No kidding, very esoteric knowledge. Bro, the like comments today are fire and they're making me feel dumb. Like I'm not familiar with any of this stuff. I mean, obviously alchemical science and transmutation of matter, I understand what you're saying there, but I don't know who Malcolm Bendel's plasma work is. I do think the universe is like electromagnetic in nature and plasma is a huge part of it. I mean, you know, everything I think originates from plasma and then becomes everything else. But yeah, y'all making me look like I don't know. Wow, what the heck, bro? Why did you go so hard on 187? Did he do something to you? Because like, actually, this just makes you look bad, man. Like, stop it. Like, if I see more, I'm gonna like. I might have to remove you from the channel. Just please, like, be respectful. Not true. I'm friends with J. Philip, who recommended to check out this channel out. Oh, I don't know what you said not true about, but J. Philip Jimenez is a G and a gangster. I just decided to move away from talking about the BBN on the channel. I love Philip. He's a great man. In fact, I need to reach out to Philip. He is an absolute gangster and a gentleman and a scholar in every sense of the word. I love Philip. He is amazing. Shadow Work Essential. Yeah, well, bro, given that you were just dogging on 187 for no reason, like, sounds like there's some shadow work there. Sorry to call you out, but like when you publicly go after someone, you know, whether it's me or someone else on the channel, like, I'm going to call you out and you should take a look at why did you feel the need to say that? You know, I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's not okay what you did. And so I would take a look at why does that trigger you so much? I get it, right? 187 on a motherfucking cop, right? That the gangster lyric. I get it. Like, you know what? I used to like gangster rap back in the day. In fact, I still listen to gangster rap here and there, tongue in cheek. You can't, I don't think really take it seriously, but who knows, man? That guy's had a handle for 20 years. You know, he's like 17 and he was into Tupac or whatever. Like, you know, it doesn't matter why they came up with that name. It's like, you don't need to do that. Okay, moms in her 70s is finally recognizing Mandela effects emitting their actual. Yeah, there's definitely something to it. Yeah, exactly. Hey, good job. Good job. Like not rising to the bait. Tip of the hat to you, 187. And like Ryan, for real, dude, back off. Like, what is happening here? Like, I've never had people go after each other on the channel before, and I'm not a fan. Reminds me of the good old days. That's why I didn't change my name. Yeah, that's cool. Right on, but relax. It's fun. Easy E. That was my nickname in high school, believe it or not. I'm not into NWA, right? Never really was. You know, I think gangster rap's actually like pretty caustic on society. That's why I say I listen to it tongue in cheek. But some of it is pretty awesome. Like the way rappers flex, like it's just like WWF. It's a guilty pleasure I have. And so, anyways, bro. Dude, 187 is fucking like owning right now. I live right on ley line that extends out of Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. I have tons of quartz crystal on my property. That's awesome, bro. That's very cool. Like that ley line is super powerful, no doubt. And if it comes out of Pilot Mountain and goes into quartz crystal on your property, like that's a great place to do work and raise your vibration. Currently, hundreds of morels coming over the ground. That's awesome. I'm super into mycology. Atlantis was Earth to a different civilization. All of that land that touched all the ocean was called Atlantis. It wasn't one area or one geographical location. Yeah, no, it's true. I know, but the Isle of Poseidon was there in the center. And yeah, no, it was definitely a global empire. I agree with that. But the Isle of Poseidon was at the center. And when that island and the archipelago at the, at Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which I don't think that the Recot structure, I mean, it might have been part of Atlantis, but it wasn't the Isle of Poseidon. I'm certain that's basically where the Azores are now. And then you said it's not fucking flat, which I love that. Let's see here. Sheila says, this is what's wrong with flat Earth. Anything that doesn't fit in with the flat Earth pyramid is immediately discarded. I know. It's crazy. It's just utterly crazy. This eclipse had so many groups planning on using it esoterically. It's just stupid. It really is. And the thing is, it's going to end up being like the Three Stooges trying to get through the door. Like that one episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Byrne had so many diseases in his body that they couldn't get through the door and kill him. He was in perfect balance with all these diseases because they were like almost fighting with one another. That's hilarious. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Let's see if there's anything that I haven't already hit because L cleaned up. Let's see. Yes, if I remember correctly, one of them named Raw. Yep. Dope intro. Dug it. Love it. Love it. Let's see. I think we've already done all this. Thank you again, Alex. I'll wait and see. Sounding rockets during the eclipse. The name is interesting, at least. Absolutely. Righto. Love it. Thank you for all that information, Ryan. That's fantastic. NASA name makes more sense of the concept of their mythology. Yeah, oh yeah, we already hit this. Lady McDougall of Lorne put a curse on my Scottish family clan hundreds of years ago. The McCallums will never fall. Excuse me. Are you saying that you're rejecting this Lady McDougall of Lorne? Your family, in order for that to have happened, your family must have done her dirty in some way. Especially that it extends down through the family. And do you find that it still impacts you? It's just interesting. I'm Scottish myself. So very interesting. I mean, not from Scotland, but my Y chromosome is from Scotland. It seems from King Fergus himself, actually. About 25% of people named Ferguson are related to King Fergus. And I don't know that I can prove it genealogy-wise, but I would love to be able to prove that genealogy-wise. But I did, back in the day, I did pendulum testing and other things, and I believe I'm descended from King Fergus of Scotland, so it's cool. Let's see here. Legal state. Yep, no one has the legal right to influence CERN. I know. Isn't that creepy? All right, see. I absolutely love painting. LOL, haha, of course. That's awesome. Crazy thing about CERN is there are many other countries building their own colliders. I know. And what is it doing? CERN produced a video titled Symmetry, shows a part where people are falling through a wormhole, one dimension to another. This is depicted in the mural at the Bank of America corporate tower in Charlotte, North Carolina. Wow, that's wild. I'll have to look that up. The mural at the Bank of America corporate tower in Charlotte. And of course, Charlotte is, I want to say that's where the headquarters of masonry is in the U.S. I mean, it's that or D.C., but I feel like it's the second most powerful lodge is in Charlotte, if I remember correctly. So very interesting. Let's keep going. Might have seen that mural. Disturbing. Interesting. Let's see. See, this is dude, Ryan, you're dropping all this incredible esoteric knowledge. Just even if someone is has some kind of name, I've had people come on with names that are pretty dark on this channel for much darker than 187, whatever. There's a Buddhist saying that irritation shows ego, and so if that bothered you, there's I believe some kind of integration that you could take a look at. You're incredibly knowledgeable. I know you've been on the channel a lot. I'm glad you guys resolved it peacefully, and so that's not. I thought it was going to escalate from there, and so I just was disappointed because I actually hold you in high regard. And like, you're incredibly knowledgeable. I mean, look at this incredible comment. Like, you put it all together, like, and it's really helpful. And like, you're obviously incredibly smart and knowledgeable, and I love that about you. And so, like, I'm just saying, like, you know, like, we don't need to be like calling people out and turning them down and whatever, unless they're doing something to you, in which case, of course, you have a right to defend yourself. But good for you guys, like, resolving it. I appreciate that. Yeah, okay, all right, hit this. Archangel Michael came to me and stood by my side since you were a child. Yeah, me too. It's my middle name, Michael. I feel very close. Second house is Libra, so that would have meant that you could have had dissolving, like you could have lost a job during that period of time, or like maybe a household change, right? That someone moved into the household or left the household. Something to do with past lives related to household stuff around self-esteem and income is likely. Maybe less so since it's your second house because it doesn't hit the Chiron there. But anyways, yeah, if you want to get a reading, then we can go deeper on that. Originally, my mother was going to name me Christopher Michael after the Christ consciousness and Archangel Michael. Instead, she chose Ryan, Little King. Huh, that's cool. It sounds like your mom is a pretty dope person. Thoughts on the, oh yeah, we're not touching that one. Huh, that's an interesting thought. Very interesting. I'm not sure. Huh. Do you have proof of that, or you just are guessing? I think they are perfect. I think it's just that time, is what I'll say about that. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I think it's going to happen. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't understand what that was. No, man, you're good. Like, I thought it was going to escalate from there because it didn't start out. I know 187 means murder. I'm well aware of that. So, but it's also like obviously a gangster rap thing, and I do tongue-in-cheek gangster rap stuff all the time. Recant upon first seeing it, drop download. But again, brother, the fact you didn't take ownership there, take a look at that. Recant upon first seeing it, dropped download on me. It was formed under the ocean, legit built, not a volcano. 5 groups were associated with, and it was center of empire, which had advanced sciences. I don't know. It doesn't resonate for me that Ricot structure is the center of Atlantis. Could it have been one of the cities of Atlantis that were all built in a similar ring structure? Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think it's the Isle of Poseidia. I mean, I've seen all the stuff about it. It just doesn't resonate with me that and maybe we're from different timelines or whatever, right? Like it could be that we're both right and we're both wrong, depending on your perspective or whatever. But it doesn't resonate for me that it's it doesn't resonate for me that was the Isle of Poseidia or whatever. B royalty, I love it. And then your comment got deleted. Well, did you put a link in there, or did you say a naughty word or something? If you want to repost it, then we can do it. But I think we're just about wrapping up. So Paul, if you want to quick type out that comment, we can do it, and then I am gonna call it for a night. I'm gonna probably get yelled at by someone because this stream went a little long and strong. So Paul, I'm gonna give you just a couple more minutes to do it, and then we'll go from there. Here we go. Have you heard the theory that Kali Yuga started with cow slaughter? I've heard that cow slaughter brought demons into Earth that caused pedophilia. Wow, I've never heard that before. That's interesting, right? Because slaughtering a bull, for example, right? Like that's the Mithraic cult, which there's definite. Wow, interesting. So that kind of marked. So like that would have been in the Taurus, right? And that would have been Taurus before Aries, right? Because it basically moves backwards, the great year. And so from Taurus to Aries, and Taurus was the era in which Moloch came into the world, and animal sacrifice and human sacrifice really started during the Kali Yugas. And so that is really fascinating. How interesting. After Krishna left Earth. I've never heard that before, because Krishna protects cows and bulls. Wow, Paul, you're blowing my mind here. That's fantastic. No, I have not heard that before. That feels like it has legs to it and makes a lot of sense. So, wow. Well, I'm going to have to look into that, Paul. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, exactly. Baal or Baal worship requires, yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah, Haman Baal, aka Moloch, right? But that's the name, you're using the name that the Phoenicians used themselves. So, yeah, it definitely does. And that's why the number one job of light workers on earth, which is what my mentor and teacher, uh, Blackfoot, the shaman who is from the Russian Siberian shaman line from Kamchatka, and also some Inuit shaman line, because he was Inuit, half Inuit, half Kamchatka Indian. He's also albino. He told me it's the number one duty of light workers was to end pedophilia, because it is what opens the portal to the lower astral. And so that seems like a good place to end it. Like that, we talked about that a lot in the Sam Tripoli episode. And it's really appalling, and like we have to protect children because they can't protect themselves. So much love, everyone. Take care, be well, and I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you so much. Yep, that's correct. I love this. I'm going to leave this comment up. I'm going to actually leave this comment up because it's nice energy. All right, well, take care, everyone, and have an amazing night. I'll see you next time.